Hashtag sorry, not sorry, but welcome back to season 3. Yeah, with a dwellers below, dwellers below.
Welcome back to the Dwellers Below. Today we're asking the question, can you make Empire not be garbage in the old world? So in preparation for the Arcane Journal, hopefully coming out next week, we're going to be doing a bit of a review of the army. Before we jump in, guys, Danny and Nick, how have you experienced Empire so far? Have you played games with or against them?
Oh, you first. It'll be quick.
I've played one game against them, and it went well.
For you, not for the Empire.
Obviously. Empire garbage.
What about you, Danny?
We have one. That's good. We have one of polar opposite point of view, or one end of the spectrum, and I fit firmly in the other end of the spectrum of points of view on the Empire, which is that they are not great. I've had lots of games with them and really enjoy the Empire, but competitively, it's difficult when you come up against the top tier things, for sure.
Yeah, I've played about 26 games with the Empire and took them to one small tournament, and I've found them challenging to use as well. I've tried a few different things that we'll get into, but we've got a bit of an experience between us. Before we jump into the list itself, where is the Empire in the timeline of the old world? Hohen, I'm guessing you're not on top of the fluff for the Empire in the old world?
It's the time of the 3 emperors.
Correct.
And Magnus the Pious is running around, and we haven't formed the Colleges of Magic yet.
Hey,
correct.
That's much more accurate than I thought. That's right. So the Empire is split into a civil war. We've got the 3 emperors, which from memory, is it Reichland, Talabecland, and Marienburg? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
All with the gods of Tal and Ulrich for Talabecland, of Sigmar for Reichland, and is it Manan, I think, for Marienburg. So quite different flavors of Empire, not uniform. Like you say, Nick, we don't have the Colleges of Magic yet, so it's all a bit chaotic there. It's an interesting time to set the game, and we'll talk a little bit at the end about what that might mean for the Arcane Journal. But what's the appeal for you, Danny, as an Empire player, in having chosen this army in terms of why you might play it?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point in my tabletop gaming career and hobby career, it's definitely Stockholm syndrome. But initially, for sure, in every fantasy setting, what I really enjoy is being the underdog and being the human that lives in this world of dragons and ogres and magic and mind-boggling, chaotic hell. And you're just the dude in some pajamas with a halberd, and you've got to try and make it work. So the narrative appeal of that really tickles me.
And especially leaning on the pajamas with the sort of Landesnecht look on all of the guys. I really love the aesthetic of the Empire. I think they're the most popular army in Total War Warhammer, the most used army. So there's a real following behind them, which has been keeping them in play at the moment. Like you say, I really like the way that Empire has mixed arms. You get to use a bit of shooting, a bit of cavalry, a bit of infantry in theory, and some magic. Nick, what do you think about how Empire plays as an army in theory, as we'll talk about in practice in a sec?
It's a bit of a struggle, right? They just don't do anything particularly strongly.
In theory. We're talking about in theory right now. We'll get to the cold hard facts later.
I love the Empire fluff about the well-drilled state troops and all that kind of stuff, and I wish that was more represented in the game, because everyone kind of does that now.
Because in 8th, it was a bit more that you could do multiple layers of buffs with, Celestial Hurricanums and Warrior Priests and magic to make your Empire Halberdiers have Mind Razor and a bunch of buffs that were quite effective.
Yes and no, because you were taking those buffs and you were buffing Demigryphs, realistically.
Yes. Yeah.
No one was buffing 40 halberdiers, and if they were,
You
they were doing
could,
it wrong.
in theory.
You could, but you could also buff demogryphs and knights, and
Yeah.
that's it's still not really the vibe that I really like. I still remember the Sixth Ed Empire book had a bit of fluff in it about this big battle between the orcs and the Empire in the past, and it's wording up how much bigger and stronger the orcs are, but how all the detachments are working, doing their flanking attacks, and they've got the artillery and like they're opening channels to shoot artillery through, and then their detachments are coming in. I'm like, that's cool. I wish we had more of that.
Yeah, so I think let's talk in practice. How does the Empire play at the moment? It's not all negative, I think. So I would say, with the way that you're talking, Nick, one benefit, and one thing that actually really is appealing to me, is Empire has a super deep roster of units. You do get lots of infantry, you get fast cavalry, you get knights, you get monsters, you get monstrous infantry, you get a steam tank. Like, that's a pretty exciting thing about the army. And with those abilities of being like really disciplined, when you look through the army, it actually does have a lot of the rules that are meant to represent that. There's lots of drilled, there's lots of stubborn, there's lots of veteran. Danny, in your experience, why don't those things kind of pay off to make you good? You know, having all of those drilled and veteran stubborn abilities.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the simple answer is the chassis that you can get these abilities on, and most obviously the movement speed of infantry. Infantry, obviously, as everyone knows, got a lot slower, and cavalry got faster. And that just, like Lockie explained it best when he was talking about a game that he had against an Empire player at this tournament we went to a while ago. He had a beautiful, like, strong unit of great swords that marched across the table and marched across the table and kept marching across the table and never saw combat.
Yeah.
So that's the upshot there.
I think the challenge here is what you end up with is this really deep roster that in theory has these really diverse ways to play. You know, you could play infantry, you could play cavalry, you could play gun lines. But in practice, you have one pretty good way to play Empire and one not awful way to play Empire, and almost every other stuff that you'll take is pretty bad. Does that seem fair to you, Nick, or am I being too negative as an Empire player who just wishes that I was playing Bretonnians?
I don't know if it's that every other way is bad. It's just that, and if you've kind of highlighted on the right-hand side, Jack of all trades, really master of none. There's a lot of just medium builds that aren't going to do a lot. You know, they're not absolutely horrendous. And if you play them right, you might go okay. But there's just nothing that stands out as like, this list is super strong.
And the nothing that stands out is going to get to my point of bitterness here with the Empire Army. That the Empire Army has no special rules, no law of magic, and basically nothing to juice it beyond what everyone else has and kind of does better.
I don't know what you're talking about. It says great special rule access in the pros section.
All special rules, yeah, but you know, no army special rules. And I just think that you end up with an army where your combat characters are worse than everyone else in the game, pretty much.
Yeah.
Your core infantry, I mean, Skaven core is possibly worse than Empire, but I don't think anyone else is.
Lizardmen, maybe.
Skinks are good.
Skinks are good.
Poison skinks are good. Saurus are garbage.
Cortex Saurus suck.
Yeah. But I think where you do have some upsides here is Empire are able to push some of the janky things in the edition. You have unlimited numbers of level 4s with the widest lore selection in the game. So you can take multiple level 4s, 3-4 level 4s.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
They're super cheap, 160 points for a level 4 wizard. And you do have probably the best artillery in the game. Do you reckon that's fair? I mean, I think they're better than dwarves and
comparable to the bombards, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, the bombards are probably better than the great cannons because.
And then the other, what else? Like the goblin doom diver, I think has a strong argument for being more useful.
I think overall though, like once you factor in that you get an engineer and things like tanks, which
that's right.
artillery
That's right.
on them, you're gonna have the best artillery army. Might not be the
Yes,
absolute best artillery
absolutely.
unit.
Yeah, Empire is one of the few armies that can really build around a full artillery gun line, and that be a competitive way to play. Possibly the only competitive way to play with Empire, but it is a competitive way to play. So I thought what we might do next is just run through some of the things in the list and give an assessment basically of, do we think these units are hot or not? And then we can talk a little bit about how it all plays together. We'll first do the special rules and magic. Yep, done with that. And now on to the characters.
Yeah, the lack of an identity is really, that does sting. You're right about that. Anyway.
In a way, if they did it right, the lack of identity could be the identity, but they haven't done that right.
No, then you know, we can touch on this later. It's so close. I feel like there's a few. I don't know what exactly the steps are. There's a few little steps that could be tweaked. But anyway, sorry.
No, yeah, I think we'll talk about that at the end, about what we would shift and sort of a bit of wish listing for the Arcane Journals. So these are the Empire characters. I thought we'd just go through them, and I'll ask you, hot or not. Do you think the Empire General and the Captain of the Empire are hot? These are cheap. They're 90 points for a Lord level character and 45 points for a Captain. So some of the cheapest characters in the game up there with Goblins. The trade-off with that is that they are weak statistics. The Captain only has 2 attacks with Strength and Toughness 4 and Weapon Skill 5, and the General only has 3. So you're basically buying a Warriors of Chaos unit champion.
That's true. I'm gonna hit that Captain and say hot, just because of how cheap you can get a BSB. Like if you put nothing else on them, 50, 70 points.
BSB is 70 points. That's right. Yeah, with no equipment.
It's a really bargain starter price.
But is this an army that really needs a BSB? Like, you have so much access to veteran, lots of ways to reroll, like fear or panic tests. I mean, the break test is important, but you don't want to be in combat anyway.
I have been taking a BSB with Empire, and I think it's maybe a holdover because you have bad leadership. Unless you take a General of the Empire, you're basically going to be, I think the Grandmaster as well, but your leadership.
Yeah, Grandmaster is 9 as well.
Most of the time. So you don't have great statistics, and you are taking units that can panic. Like, unlike most armies where it's lots of monsters and things like that, you're taking often knights and infantry that can panic and chain panic through each other because they're all unit strength 5 or above. So you are actually creating panics. That might be a mistake. I mean, maybe I should be saving my points, but I do feel like it's 95 points for a Captain of the Empire with a shield, full plate armor, and a barded warhorse, so a 2-up save. And that does feel quite cheap. The trade-off is he does nothing in close combat, like
except be a BSB.
Yeah. So yeah, the Captain possibly. Is the General have a place? I think on a Griffin, maybe.
There's something to be said about the General and Griffin holding your gun line together, making like just playing goalkeeper, as it were, on the gun line, because he's the only one with access to the Imperial Griffin. But it's all subjective. Hot or not is you take it because that's what you can get. You don't take it because it's exciting and fun to say.
Yeah, like overall not hot. Don't hate a cheap Griffin Lord just as a deterrent.
And they can be quite cheap with a Griffin Lord.
You've got to moderate your expectations about exactly what that's going to do.
Yeah, it's not gonna do what an Orc Wyvern does, and it doesn't cost that much less.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
So the competition with the General of the Empire and the Captain is the Grandmaster or Chapter Master. This is more expensive. You're paying 161 points for a Grandmaster, but they're slightly better. They have 4 attacks. They've got weapon skill 6, decent initiative. So you're basically buying a model that is not as good as Orc, Warrior of Chaos, Elf fightings, but still pretty solid. I've not been taking these, basically because I think they don't win me fights against things that can fight, and investing more points into units that are going to get killed by something like a dragon doesn't pay off. But you have, right, Danny?
Yes, I've taken a Grandmaster. I've never run the Chapter Master. It seems 75 seems steep for the hero level character that's doing not a whole lot. The immune to psychology on the knights and the demigryphs isn't bad. That's helped me out. The Grandmaster, I was running for a while, and it's not a case. You're right. It's not a case of is he going to win fights, but quite often it's is he going to lose the fight a little slower. Yeah. And so a Grandmaster with the Bedazzling Helm and the weapon skill, the extra weapon skill, means that against the Black Orc or egregious things, it's not going to make a huge difference. But against similar weapon skill Lord characters, if they're hitting on 5s, then and you've got your 2 up, 5 up, they can last a few rounds. And if your dice are a little hot, they can last quite a few rounds.
What do you think, Nick? This coming across the table, are you happy to see that, or do you think it's a good choice?
It's a step up from the general of the Empire. The stat line isn't too bad. The special rules are good. Counter charge, first charge.
Yeah,
I like a lot. So
you do be noted that the general and captain have access to the Barded Warhorse, which has those special rules. So that comes on their mount.
So yeah, but do you want the general to be countercharging stuff? He doesn't want to be anywhere near combat.
No. But in terms of price for rules, this is stuff. He comes with a horse, which is why he's a little more expensive as well. But
yeah,
that's why those rules are on him. They are accessible to the other characters.
The Demigryph and the Pegasus Knights, a Grandmaster on a peg is 175 points before you buy him anything. It's not that expensive for a moderate good combat unit.
Yeah, so if you put 220 points or something into him, which is probably what he's going to cost after getting armor,
I would say, etc.
Yeah, he's not awful. The downside, I think, for me with him is Empire Pegasi don't have barding, and so you capped it at, or you could get a 2-up save if you went for a Bedazzling Helm, but
then your points go way up.
Then you're paying a lot.
The Demigryph and just a cheap magic weapon, you're looking at
could be the way to
low 200 points for a fairly maneuverable unit that's just good nuisance fire.
Yeah.
7 attacks and a 360 degree charge is
it's not
very useful.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a good case there. I've been avoiding it for points, but I can see why you would. So to go on what I think is actually holding Empire in the competitive game at all is the Wizard Lord. The Wizard Lord is, I think, joint the cheapest mage with Goblin mages at 130 points as level 3, 160 as a level 4. There's no cap on how many of them you can take, and you get every law of magic except for High and Wa. So you can really spit these out at a prodigious rate. I mean, you can run 3, you could run 4. You probably shouldn't run 4, but you could run 4. And lots of competitive armies have been running 3 level 4 wizards, mixtures of illusion and battle magic to slow the enemy down, do some damage. I think these are great. I think the lack of a law means that you are a bit restricted in that you can't be sure that you're going to get good spells with these.
Yeah, you've got to be really particular about where you use your law familiar. And if you're trying to do different combos with different laws of magic, which can be a lot of fun, you've got to work out what the less bad scenario is, which spells you definitely need and which ones would be nice to have but aren't essential to the combo that you're going for.
Yeah, it means that you for example, if you're taking battle magic, you're probably fine because almost all the spells there are useful. If you're taking elementalism, it's probably okay. Outside of that, you probably want a lore familiar just because there's too many spells that aren't useful for you. So there is a real limitation there. You really want to have something like a Night Goblin Itchy Nuisance signature spell that boosts you up.
Yeah, that's right.
In the play.
Or even...
Go on.
Oh, just even access to not another lore familiar, but something like a spell familiar, like some other way of making it more likely to get the spells that you want on a second wizard would do wonders. But I agree, Dave. I think the Wizard Lords are great.
My issue with them is the lack of really good arcane items or even enchanted items.
Yeah.
So you compare it to like Warriors of Chaos, and obviously Warriors of Chaos are very good and have very good mages. But you can get a level 4 and a level 2 Warriors mage, and between them guarantee 6 magic missiles a turn and potentially some pillars. Whereas you just can't focus that with the Empire ones. And as you say, there's just the lore access is great, but you're never going to guarantee that many good spells, and you don't get particularly good modifiers for them.
No.
I would like to make a case just quickly for the Wizards familiar. 30 points for +1 to dispel is has got me out of so many spots. Like if you, and as an Empire player, if you look at your level 4 as magic defense, and you just like on foot or a horse and give them the Wizards familiar for that +1 to dispel, it goes actually a long way towards shutting down most armies' magic.
I like this a lot, and this is something I identified when I was reading through the Empire book earlier today in preparation for this podcast. Just taking a cheap Wizard Lord level 4 with the familiar, so you get +1 to dispel, and what I didn't realize, they come with Magic Res 1.
Yeah,
so that's handy. And then potentially running a War Altar and just going,
yes,
I'm not going to worry too much about my offensive magic, but I'm going to have +5 to my dispel rolls, and you'll have -2 to cast, and just focus on shutting them down.
And then if everything in your army has magic res, which you can get in Empire. Yeah, that's the latest thing that I want to try out. I haven't done yet.
Yeah, I have run that. I mean, I think the problem here for me is that that's not terrible, but comparable items for other armies are better. So like the Idol of Mork is +3 inches range to your dispel and reroll to all dispel attempts. And a bunch of armies have a version of this, which is usually +3 inches range to your dispel and +1 to dispel, and usually costs 5 points less. So I don't think it's bad. It's also extremely common, so you could take 2 of it if you wanted to, and you can take it with your lore familiar or whatever else. So there is some upsides there.
Unfortunately, also, 1 per wizard.
Yeah, 1 per wizard. You can't stack them up for +7 to dispel. The other thing with the Empire wizards is that they have Magic Res 1. And so going into a unit, you're getting a little extra bonus there in terms of dispelling with that and the War Altar. Let's talk about that now. So the competition here from the Wizards is the High Priests and Lectors of Sigmar and Ulrich.
Hold up.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
You guys are missing a trick. You mean, what do you mean in the old world that you don't like level 2 wizards? It seems so strange to me.
Yeah, we didn't talk about master mages.
But having said that, depending on I'm not against a level 2 master mage on Pegasus with the Ruby Ring. You take Demonology and you take the signature spell. You're getting 4d6 strength 4 hits, half of them with AP on a flank.
I think you're wrong, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
You're not getting spelled because you're on the other side of the board.
A master mage,
and it's 150 points.
A master mage is 90 points for a level 2. Or remember that level 4s are uncapped. So do you pay 90 points for the level 2, or 130 for a level 3, or 160 for a level 4?
You got to be looking for bargains here, Dave. You got to cut corners.
The level 2 mage with the Ruby Ring of Ruin is costing you basically the same as a level 3.
But you're getting the double magic missiles guaranteed.
Yeah, but just
on your
just spend
you're not
30
getting-
points. Spend 30 points to put the ring on a random
If you
ablative
don't have
BSB.
30 points.
Okay. Look,
Apparently, we have 90 to spend on a master mage.
I just think
Yeah.
find points elsewhere and make it a level 4. I can't see myself ever thinking that the 670 point difference from a level 4 to a level 2 is not worth paying.
You'll come crying to me when the General's Handbook drops, when the Games Workshop's Warhammer World Event rules become official. You'll come crying back. You'll say that, Master Mage.
Well, even the Warhammer World ones, you can take one level 4 and 2 level 3s, I think.
Oh, you can have the level 3. Okay, well,
which is probably fine. Yeah. The big one with the level 2 for me is because you don't have a good signature, you're basically stuck to Demonology because it's the only one that you really want the signature.
And you're wasting the other spell basically if you're out in the fight.
Can't use the other spell pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's summoning cast on? Is it a 9?
9, I think.
So it's not even easy to cast for a level 2.
Yeah, it's a 9. So you're
getting it off more often than not.
60-something% of the time if the enemy can't dispel you.
The whole point is they can't dispel you.
In which case you're getting it off none of the time.
All right, I don't feel that strongly about it. Let's move on.
I feel very strongly about how bad it is.
I'm so unsold by this option, Danny. Look, you need to prove me wrong. Take it out and claim some.
I'm not the guy for that.
The kind of competition here is High Priest selectors and Priests of Sigmar and Ulrich. These are basically the statistics of a General of the Empire or a Captain of the Empire, but you pay a slight premium. So you pay 60 points rather than 45 for the Priest, and you pay 110 rather than 90 for the Archlectors. The High Priest of Ulrich is got 3 spells. One which gives you plus D3 to your charges. One which makes the enemy reroll 6s to hit against his unit. And the really spicy one is it gives his unit multiple wounds too. And this multiple wounds too is not just for close combat attacks. So you can, in theory, put this on a big crossbow unit and give them multiple wounds too. Or if you're going really spicy, you can put them in a unit of Outriders for the repeater handgunners. Is this good? I don't think so, but it's a thing that exists and is kind of fun.
Important to note with the prayers for these priests is which ones require them to be in the unit and not. I'm not quite sure. 2 of the multiple wounds and the reroll 6s to be hit, I believe you need to be in the unit, and the other one is a command rage.
I think all of the Ulrich ones you need to be in the unit.
Yeah, I think that was the difference between the 2.
All the Ulrich ones. Okay, I got that wrong.
Oh no, you're right. Battle Howl is a unit within command range. You're right. Yeah, the charge.
Yeah,
the unit in command range. Yeah.
The charges. Yeah, right. Okay, so you can send someone off a bit speedier with that, which is more useful.
Yeah,
in
whereas
comparison,
the warrior priest ones, hammer and shield, are both pick a unit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the warrior priest in comparison gives a unit reroll 1s to hit or to wound during the combat phase, and gives you a 5-up ward save against wounds in the shooting phase. And they have another one which does D3 strength 3 hits, but it happens in the command phase, which means it doesn't add to combat res, and you're almost never in combat during the command phase.
Is it the only form of damage that happens in the command phase, apart from templates?
Vortexes. Yeah.
Fanatics.
Fanatics. Yeah.
Just off the top of my head.
I don't hate these. The Lector can go on a War Altar, which drops enemy wizards within 18 inches casting value by 2.
Does a whole bunch of other stuff that is sort of edge case as well. There's re-rolling Immune to Fear and re-rolling Panic Tests, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
And it causes terror.
It's an okay heavy chariot,
Strength 5 impact hits with AP2.
D6 +1. It's got magic res 2. It's pretty sound. It causes terror, I think. So
the issue with these guys is the reliability, right? Like buffs like
100%.
this,
Yeah.
buffs like this, you want reliability. You want to know you can get this off in the key turn when you need it. And even the Arch Lector is only checking on an 8.
An 8.
Nice. Yeah, correct.
Let alone the guys with a 7. So
yeah,
that's a big hit. I think they're good because you can't dispel the abilities, and they're good abilities. So I wonder maybe taking multiple of these guys to make sure you have a couple of cracks at the prayer you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did think for a short time there that veteran conferred to if you were in a veteran unit, it conferred to the characters in it. It does not. I looked that up, and that made me very sad for that leadership to be wrong.
I don't hate these. I think if you had slightly better units to buff, that could also bring them into play. But I think the challenge is the best thing you can buff is demigryphs with them.
And you can't put them in demigryphs.
Yeah, but you can still buff them by being near them with the Sigmar buffs.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's the multi-wound 2 buff that you want.
Yeah, which you can't do. You can't make that one work.
Yeah.
So I don't hate these. I've played a lot with the War Altar because I really wanted to make the War Altar a thing, and it's not awful. It really does annoy the hell out of enemies that are running magic heavy armies, because lots of the Empire characters have magic res 1. Your mages do, your priests do, your witch hunters have magic res 2, but you're not going to take them. And then you've got the -2 to cast from the War Altar, and you've got a level 4 with +1. Suddenly you really shut down the magic phase a lot.
And the War Altar itself has magic res too, so if they're trying to kill that first with their magic.
I like it because people are spending a lot on magic.
More and more, I like it. Yeah.
I don't think it's a thing. Like, I don't think it's the competitive way to play, but I think you can do some stuff with it.
There's play, not competitive, but there's play, I think is a good way to put it. Where was I? I was asking about the prayers on Facebook of all places, and someone chimed in with the idea of a high priest of Ulrich with the bedazzling helm and there's just full plate, not full plate, like heavy armor, shield, bedazzling helm, the white cloak for the 3 up against flaming, and then the 5 up ward, and then his own prayer, making people reroll 6s to hit against him as a potentially more annoying or can potentially last slightly longer than even the Grandmaster on Demigryph.
If he doesn't have to face any static combat res, because he's only got 3 attacks with weapon skill 5, he doesn't.
Yes, yeah. That the context they had him in was in a unit of knights with various banners and a little bit of static res, maybe the BSB2 or something. So he can challenge the dragon. The dragon might not do max overkill, and then depending on which dragon it is.
But it will kill him on the stomps.
Yes. Yeah. He's not living, but the point is you might win that combat.
Yeah, I could see that as an option. I don't think it's for me. I think any plan which involves me giving an enemy dragon a 200-point character to automatically kill the first time it touches it is not a plan I want to be involved with. But I can see how that would. You could win on combat res and charge down a dragon if it fails its leadership badly, that kind of thing.
But you've then got to get that into the dragon.
Yeah.
And it's not a charge you're going to make if you don't have like necromancy spells, the leadership debuffs on the dragon, like
all that stuff. Yeah,
if your House of Cards is still standing, it's an option.
Yeah. Let's go quickly through the next 2 characters. So you got a Witch Hunter. This is again a 2 attack model with very bad stats that has killing blow and can choose to hunt a specific thing. The only one of these that you will take is one that gives his unit magic res 2 and hatred enemy wizards. You still don't take that because he is bad. I mean, the only context I can see you can take him in is he is 55 points for magic res 2, which is quite cheap way to get magic res 2. I still don't think you do.
I don't think you do.
If you
not for this show. Move on.
The magic res 2, take
2 obsidian lodestones are 40 points.
Take a captain, give him the battle standard, put some lodestones on him. Then you're getting that magic res, but you're also getting a BSB.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
And he's just a support character that sits at the back, puts the magic res where you need it.
Precisely. So the next one, the Empire Engineer, you spend 45 points, you get an okay shooting model, his ballistic skill 4, and he can take some pretty decent weapons like a grenade launching blunderbuss or a Hochland long rifle, a repeater handgun, and then he allows a Empire artillery piece within his command range, which is 7 inches, to either re-roll an artillery dice each turn, which gets you out of a misfire, or to use his ballistic skill, which gets you Hellblaster volley gun hitting on 3s rather than on 4s. These are essential if you're running any war machines. I think you're foolish not to take them, at least one with a war machine, just for the reliability that it gives you.
Could take 2.
45 points is a bargain. Yeah.
90 points to then, and then a little bit of luck goes your way, and suddenly your Hellblaster's made all 3 shots. There's no misfires, and you're going to be hitting on 3s.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
So on to the mounts here.
Yeah, go on.
I thought we'd just briefly talk about the mounts here. I think it is worth talking briefly about them. Empire have got 4 unique mounts. The first is the Pegasus. You can run a cheap character like we've talked about, or a wizard on these. They're only 30 points, which gives you fly 10, countercharge and first charge, and swift stride, which is a really good bundle of rules for 30 points. The Demigriff doesn't fly, but basically does the same thing with 3 strength 5 AP2 attacks and barding, which is awesome. And then we've already talked about the War Alts, but then you can take a Griffin, which is just, a much worse dragon. Do you think any of these change the viability of Empire units?
I have yet to try, but would like to try the Naked Captain on a Griffin for 187 points. Full plate and shield. So he's getting this, just rocking around with a 3-up save, but he's just a cheap Griffin. I think the cheapest Griffin.
Yeah.
And you're not losing a whole lot when you lose him, and could be potentially useful, but they have to be in the right list.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Nick?
I like how cheap and sort of cheerful that is. I think the Demigriff's a decent mount, but
yeah,
the War Altar is expensive for what it does, and it's big base.
Yeah, I think the Demigriffs, and I would say Pegasus for mages and Demigriffs for combat characters is a really good one. You can run the combat characters on the Pegasus like we've discussed, but again, you're playing a game that other armies do better, pretty much. Then you're basically running a bad Bretonnian army, and I don't like the angle. Speaking of doing things that others do better, this is the Empire Core. You have state troops that can be veterans. These are stats of 3 all the way through, and with hand weapon, shield, halberds, or spears. You've got missile troops, which are either crossbows, which are 30 inches range and strength 4, or handguns that don't exist. Archers, which are skirmishers, and you can give them scout and fire and flee. Militia, which don't exist, and knights, which are really cheap. Do any of these excite you as core options?
Nick?
No, not at all.
I have to say, as a faithful, long-time Empire player, no, absolutely not. Every time I write a list, I write the thing, I put in the things I'm excited about, and then I look at the empty core slot, and I go, I have to do that now.
Yeah. I agree. So there's some not awful things with this. You can take detachments, which means you get to take 2 split small 5-man units next to your main unit. These do not work the way that they are intended. What they do mean is you can go a 10-man unit of crossbows with 2 5-man detachments of crossbows. And if you charge that middle crossbow unit, you get 15 shots of crossbows at you. It's not good, but it's not awful. The archers are also quite cheap, I think, for what they do. It's like 35 points, I think, for a unit of 5 archers.
35 points for 5, and if you give them scout, it's 40 points. It's not too much of a premium to pay.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. They are warbows rather than longbows, so 24 inches range and no armor bane. But I don't hate these. And lastly, I actually am a big fan of Empire Knights because you can take 4 of them rather than 5. Because you can give them drilled and stubborn for 3 points a model combined. And so
if you only got 4,
a unit of 4 of them is 100 points. and they can move 21 inches across the board. And then if you don't kill the whole unit, they'll be stubborn, so they take you 2 turns to deal with. This is not something that you would take in lots of other armies, but I think that they're quite annoying, actually. Just for
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Drilled Knights.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question for you, Dave. How does, like, if you were to start putting together a list, what does your core usually look like in Empire?
I would first decide if my Empire army is playing a fool's game and trying to fight combats, in which case it probably involves a couple of units of archers and some knights, or I'm deciding I want to win games, in which case I'm running as many minimum size units of archers as the comp pack will let me do, and then 2 units of 4 knights, and then if I have more points left over, which I will, it will be units of crossbows with 5-man detachments of crossbows, and it will just flood the board with shit, just as much garbage across the board as possible, so that the enemy is never getting more than 100 points at max out of your core, and they're having to spend a bunch of turns shaving points
around.
Yeah, like the state troopers, the missile troopers, it's 70 points for your 10 crossbows, and then another 35 points for each of the detachments. And then you've got a bunch of 35, 40-point units of archers because you're going to have skirmish on them, have scout on them where you can.
Gum up the board.
Yeah, basically. Because you're then playing with illusion magic, probably as well on a Lore Familiar Lord, and just stopping the enemy getting charges where they get any points that matter, trying to shave off points off the units that they've got and fill the table up, pretty much. Is it far off you, Danny? Are you being more sensitive?
I haven't yet done the latter. Sticking to the former of little units of knights and archers. I haven't ever put missile troops on the table.
Right.
And there's some fun to be had with veteran state troops in a combat res block with the BSB and flying them around. But then you're invested. It's not competitive, but there's some fun to be had.
Yeah, you can put 400 points into a unit of veteran state troops to make them much worse versions of dwarves or black orcs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the core. I don't think this is the reason you play Empire if you want to win games at the moment. I love the Empire troops, and I especially love militia. I love the models. I love the fluff.
It's funny because it's aesthetically the reason you would play Empire is the stuff in this section, but it's just garbage.
50 state troops, 2 units of 20 militia. This is what dreams are made of, right?
Yeah, it's not. And it's not even as much as saying, "Oh, we're not playing an infantry meta at the moment." If we were playing an infantry meta, these would be the worst infantry, and you still wouldn't take them. With a bunch of armies, you look at them and you think, if we were playing infantry, this could really, like high elf combat infantry, this could really be a thing. This is not a thing. It needs a fundamental change to make them functional at the moment, and we don't really have that in the game.
Yeah.
To some more exciting things, Empire's got a really broad range of special choices. So you have Inner Circle Knights, which is slightly better than normal Knights. They've got full plate armor available to them. They're pretty sound. You've got Outriders and Pistoliers. Pistoliers are awful, impetuous, fast cavalry that doesn't want to be in close combat and then forces itself to get into close combat.
They're impetuous. Oh no.
They are impetuous.
Yeah,
yes.
No good.
Oops.
Outriders are quite good, but very expensive, multi-shot, fast cavalry. You can get them in a good position. They do get a lot of shots off, but they're always one magic missile away from not existing.
Yeah.
And
also
like them
ponderous.
I like them with the Wombo combo with the
multi-wound too.
Ulrich Priest, yeah. And he gives them the magic res a bit, so might make them less susceptible to just disappearing into a fireball. But some armies are just going to be like, oh well, we actually shoot better than your unit.
3 points,
and you can get with like less than 200 points for 10 of them, so they're not crazy expensive.
It's a lot of shots.
As soon as they're moving, though, the shots just go out the window. If you have to move them for any reason, they're ineffective.
Yeah. I don't hate them though. I think you could use them. They're probably not going to be in any of my competitive lists, but I don't think they're the worst thing in this book. Which is, to be clear, the Pistoliers. They are the worst thing in this book.
The worst thing?
The game, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a unit that only works by shooting within 12 inches, but has impetuous and doesn't want to be in any close combat is...
And they're like 3 points a pop cheaper than Outriders?
Yes, than Outriders. Yeah.
So not even particularly cheap.
Not even bug investment cheap.
They do not...
Also, just to add insult to injury, a brace of pistols in combat is just clubs.
It's
Strength
just
3,
that's strength.
no AP. Yeah. You don't even get to shoot your pistols in combat.
Get in there.
Insanity.
Impetuous.
Insanity.
Horrible. So in the category of slightly less awful but still quite bad, you've got great swords. These are not as terrible. They're stubborn. You can give them drilled. You can give them veteran. They've got full plate armor, so they've got a 4-up save. They've got great weapons. They're strength 5. They've got good 50-point magic item allowances on their BSB and their standard bearer, so you can give them something like a Ruby Ring of Ruin. These are the category of things I think that if the game had more of a space for infantry, you could possibly build around. But as things stand, I just think you're giving 3 points to an opponent by taking them.
One of the Empire players in Australia has been on record as saying he doesn't mind units of 7.
Oh, interesting.
A musician and a champion in marching column because they have drilled. And then just using them as like this, it's like what 70 points or something as redirectors and stubborn. So if you don't kill all of them, and which you won't if they're in marching column because they're too wide, so you're not going to get that many attacks into them. So that's interesting. I haven't tried that.
I don't hate that. I think my question for that is why would I not take core knights to do the same role?
Yeah,
it's still a 100-point dart. Like 7 great swords with a champion and drilled is 99 points.
99 is it? Well, with the champion.
Yeah.
Which is the same as 4 Empire Knights are, and the Empire Knights move 21 inches rather than 12 when they drill.
Yeah, 4 wounds on a 3-up as opposed to 7 wounds on a 4-up.
4-up. Yeah, not as tough. Again,
but it comes out of your special instead of out of your core.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're not doing anything with the core.
And that's my issue with like half the special section. Your Inner Circle Knights are good, but are they so much better than Knights that you can afford to not spend your core points on them?
Yeah,
the real problem with it. Let's talk about next. The real problem with the Inner Circles is the demigriffs. The demigriffs are one of the 4 really good units in this army that are just good on their own terms, and other armies would consider taking them if they had the option. So a demigriff is a monstrous cavalry. They're 58 points a model without full plate, but you're always taking full plate, so they're 63 points a model. They can either have halberds or lancers, and I think it's probably halberds, but what you're really rocking around with is a 2-up armor save, toughness 4.
Not if you have halberds.
But you're not having halberds.
No, that's right. You said it's halberds, and I was like, hang on, it's not halberds.
No, sorry, not halberds. Sorry, Sorry,
I did wonder.
No. Each of the demigriffs themselves has got 3 strength 5, weapon skill 4 attacks apiece, which I think is pretty good for what you're
with
playing.
AP2.
AP2 baked in, that's right. And the riders have got strength 4 and lancers, so pretty good attacks. These are swift stride, their first charge, and their counter charge. So I think they're not the best monstrous cavalry in the game. They don't beat Pegs. They're also not as good as Mournfang, in my opinion. But these are really good.
Great abilities, solid stats, not that expensive.
Nah. Yeah.
Best unit in your book.
I think, depending on who gets the charge, every time I've played Lockie's Mournfang, the demis clean him up. So, except when he gets his impact hits, in which case, but if you let them get impact hits, then you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. Look, if you charge his Mournfang, who are faster than you, then you probably do win against him. You hit him on 3s, he hits you on 4s. You have AP2, he has AP1. You have a 2-up save,
4-up,
3-up save.
3-up on Mournfang, is it?
Yeah, so you should probably win that if you get the charge. If he gets the charge, not really.
You just pray for bad impact
Who's,
hits.
who's striking first?
The Demigriffs are
Demis.
striking first.
Makes a difference.
Yeah. But yeah, these are great. I think the challenge is you have to make a real choice when you're running an Empire army if you want to let the opponent play a game of Warhammer with you. And if you're taking Demigriffs, you're letting them play a game of Warhammer. And so you're basically providing points that they can access that you can't hide Demigriffs that well.
Yeah.
If the opponent has things like dragons, like screams, well, like any of the good stuff in the game, basically, the Demigriffs aren't so tough that you can't kill them. And I think they're really good, but I think that there is a legitimate choice with Empire about whether you want to play combat at all. And if you don't, then I think you basically don't take them because you're not wanting to give any points up.
No, yeah, the decision is made before you, like, when you decide, before you put the list pen to paper on the list.
Yeah. We've then got the two artillery pieces, which is the mortar, which does a strength 2 large template of AP 2 or 3 with armor bane. It also has multiple wounds D3 and strength 6 under the center. I think these are fine, but not good enough that you'd ever take them over a cannon. They're 95 points, so they're relatively cheap, but I feel like for 125 points, a great cannon, which is D3 plus 1 wounds cannon, just is better in almost every option.
Yeah, even going through the things that mortars are supposed to be good against, right? Like a cannonball through a unit of clan rats is probably going to do more than the mortar.
At least not enough that the difference means you don't want the cannon there if they've got...
if they've got other stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
No, agreed.
So that's pity. The cannon is mandatory, I would say. I think if you unless you're going full combat, which I think is not the right move, but you could do, you want to have 2 to 3 cannons in every army, probably. Is that...
With an engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the special choices. I think you're really wanting basically the great cannon and demigriffs here. There's some play with
an interesting point while we're talking about cannons was this. I think it feels like what happened here was obviously cannons reduced in strength from 8th edition because they were just overpowered, or led to the disappearance of any sort of dragon ever. And then they made them. They drop their damage, increase their points a little, and said, "Hey, you can take 0 to 3 per 1,000 points of your army." So ostensibly, you could have 6 in a 2,000 point list, rules as written, and then if you have 6, then you're getting 12 shots over 2 turns of shooting that you might get against a dragon. In which case, you might actually do a few wounds to it.
I think if we were playing uncomped,
but now you have 0 to 3, yeah.
If we were playing uncomped, not rule of 3, you would be taking probably 6 cannons in an Empire army as the response.
You would just start there.
Yeah. So weirdly enough, Empire don't have a good way to kill the dragon. The cannons are not that reliable at it. But
no.
The Empire shooting army is quite good against dragons because you just don't offer the dragon enough points with anything.
Yeah.
For it to matter.
It gets to declare 5 charges and maybe kill 500 points.
Yeah. And it may not even get 5 because you're going to have illusion magic on a level 4, and it may fail a follow-up chart leadership test and go run off the board. I think Empire actually don't mind the dragon matchup that much, but it's not because the cannon kills it.
It deters it at all. Yeah.
So on to our rare choice. We've got a few actually quite interesting choices. Let's get the bad one out of the way. The Hellstrom rocket battery is a stone thrower that does D3 shots, doesn't have extra strength around the middle, costs more points, and is...
Always scatters.
I took this in a narrative campaign against my friends at the start of 8th edition, and legitimately, across like 10 games, it killed more of my own models than it did of the enemy.
And this is why we love rockets.
Yeah. I love this model. It's an awesome model, but it's awful.
But it used to be like horrifyingly dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It was like a strength 5 large template. Now it's strength 3. So it's not even
strength
scary when
3.
it hits stuff.
No.
There was a period in when fantasy didn't exist and all these models got ported to Age of Sigmar. There was a period where a very good Empire list was just like 6 of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they would just tear stuff up because they didn't require line of sight, etc. Anyway, wrong system.
I love it. I mean, it's also one of my favorites in Total War because when it goes off, it just carpets the whole battlefield in rockets. It's really cinematic. Unfortunately, not to be. We've then got Flagellants, who are unbreakable, furious charge, hatred everything, with a ward save against non-magical attacks.
And flails.
And flails, yeah. So the best close combat weapon in the game that normal infantry have access to. What do you reckon to these, Nick? Because I think Danny's a bit excited about them.
I like them. It's just, I don't know if it's enough to make up for everything else being a bit meh. And I don't know if there's any way to really break them. I think they can be solid, but is there anything that really takes them to the next level?
So I would say the one way that I've made them work is with a level 4 on Demonology and Steed of Shadows to make a big unit, like 25, 30 of them, fly 24 inches down the table on turn 1. You've also been playing around with this, right, Danny? Have you tried it in a game yet? You have, right?
Yes. Yeah. And a big unit of 25, baby numbers. 45.
That is only possible in 2,200 points because it's more than 500 points for the unit, and it means you have no
2,400
and no
That's right.
Blaster.
No, the whole. I just filled my rare slot. I was like, I have 600 points of rare, all Flagellants, and it's surprisingly good. I mean, what happened in that game? Well, first I deployed them in a big long line across the whole board, and my opponent just like groaned at me audibly, which is fair. And then I, of course, did what Flagellants are known to do in their lore, which is fly 24 inches across the table, and sat them behind his entire army. And he didn't really know what to sort of make of them, what to do. He was just kind of like, this is ridiculous. This is not what Warhammer is. And then he made the mistake of, and I didn't even get the chance to turn them around. I think he wanted to hold them there or something. He charged a unit of Dwarf Warriors into them. Which meant I wiped the floor with them. I rolled half my attacks and they were dead. And got to then overrun.
Sweet,
which
sweet
is
reform.
Excellent. And when you have, 45 dudes in a line, as long as there's no impassable terrain, going 2d6 on an overrun into whatever is next in line is great. Unfortunately, they did get held up a little too long against an anvil. This is dwarves. An anvil and a doom seeker. And funnily enough, managed to kill the anvil and also managed to hold off on killing the doom seeker so that he lost the points for it.
Didn't give up the points.
Just good.
Yeah,
assigning one attack to the doom seeker and then 30 attacks to the anvil.
I love Flagellants. They're one of my favorite units in the Empire Army. In 8th edition, I was running them as core with the Arc Lector. And if they had an option to come back as core, possibly even special, I think you would see
Still
them.
the core.
They're quite expensive, and they really don't like anything that has bows, magic vortexes, or wizards, which unfortunately is a significant portion of the game at the moment. And so I think they're not going to show up in competitive play, but I don't hate them. They hit really surprisingly hard. Hatred and Furious Charge just means that you've got a lot of Strength 5 attacks rerolling to hit into combat.
With AP2?
With AP2, yeah. And rerolls 1 to wound if you've got a Warrior Priest nearby or in the unit.
Have you put the Warrior Priest in the unit with them?
I haven't. I don't think it's good.
No, because I think the whole the one thing you don't want with a unit of however many silly Flagellants is to get challenged out.
No.
You don't want a hero in there.
It's a pity you can't put the Priest of Ulrich in there.
Ulrich. Yeah. Because if you could
Yes.
have
Hey,
damage 2 on
multi
that.
wound 2, baby.
Oh, man.
That would get a bit silly.
That would be incredible.
That would actually
That
scare
would
a
be so
dragon.
fun. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, as we saw from the Warcoms article, the flagellants are the solution to dragons, you see. They'll just tie it up
Did
forever.
they actually write that?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Two cannons or some flagellants. That's all you need for a dragon, Nick.
A handy counter.
The dragon just wrecks flagellants.
It makes you wonder if they played this game that they wrote.
Have you read the rulebook? Obviously not.
Because they just get pushed out and then the dragon gets to fly away and charge something else. Like
You know who definitely hasn't read the rulebook? The people who did the FAQs.
No. Anyway, so flagellants are one of the fun options. Now we're into the real question, I think, for your rare choice, which is you got the Hellblaster volley gun, which does 3 artillery dice worth of strength 5 shots. And for 120 points, if you don't have a engineer near it, I don't think they're very good because you're not hitting enough. But if you do have an engineer near it, they are really terrifying, actually, because you've got AP1 but Armor Bane 2 and a mountain of like a real bucket of shots. These are pretty damn good, I'd say. They're one of the things in the army that can blast big monsters, night buses, just off the table if you get within 24 inches of it.
I haven't yet had the joy. I ran 2 against Jay with his Blackhawk on Whiffen with the 5+5+, 2+5+5+, and I did 28 shots, short range, and did 1 wound. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's
just happens sometimes.
But I think that the triple save characters, it still isn't good enough to get through because you're wounded on 5s, and even if you hit, you're going to get max 5 wounds, of which it saves half of it on the armor, and then a third, and then a third,
and then a third, and a third. Yeah,
you expect to do 1 or 2 wounds. It's just that I don't think that's a problem.
It was so underwhelming.
That's a problem.
No. Yeah, the triple saves.
The thing that gets me is you do take range penalties, right?
You do, yes.
Yeah. So with 24-inch range, you're almost always going to be at long range.
You are.
And as soon as you're a 1 misfire, you're down to 2 artillery dice worth of shots at -1 to hit. So probably -2.
But this is why you need to have an engineer to make them work.
But even with an engineer, though, if you roll that misfire, which you're going to do every second time you shoot it,
yes,
it's hitting on 5s with only 2 artillery dice worth of shots. That's 12 shots on 5s. That's even with an engineer.
No, because the engineer will make you re-roll the misfire.
He can re-roll the misfire and lend his...
Not both at the same time, but if you get the misfire, then you re-roll it. If you don't, then you use the ballistic skill.
So it'll be 3 dice.
So you're getting some more shots, but it's always the -1. Yeah.
If you have
half the time it's -1, half the time you hit on 5s, half the time you hit on 4s. Because you won't roll a misfire and you'll use the engineer's ballistic skill.
Yeah.
It's a lot of points.
You also roll despite no one having 3 artillery dice, you roll them at the same time. So if you do roll 3 misfires, you can just have 30 shots. You can choose to just go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, I quite like them, but I think if you've got any other negatives to shoot, so cover, for example, your efficiency goes off a cliff really fast. I quite like these. It's not how I've tended to focus my points, just because I think good players know how to stay out of 24 inches, then only give you 1 go. And I think good players, if they're not using large targets, also know how to layer cover onto their units so that you're not getting unmodified shots. And large targets like dragons, I think, probably still just don't care that much about 1 round of shooting from a Hellblaster.
I think for the points, I'd rather have a cannon.
I think I want 3 cannons first, and then probably this. But yeah,
Sure.
the last one, which for me has been the best thing in the army for me in my games, is the steam tank. The steam tank is a beast. It is a unbreakable toughness 7 chariot with a 3-up save, 10 wounds. It does a really good number of D6 plus 1 impact hits with AP2. Does D3 plus 1 stomps with AP2. It has a cannon on it. It has a steam cannon, and it's got a guy out the top who can have pigeon bombs or a pistol.
I had a sword. Drive me closer so I can hit it with my sword.
It's got causes terror. The downside of it for a chariot is it's quite slow. It's movement 4 and then can go additional movement if you take some risks with the steam power, which can either make you go the highest of 2d6 or take a wound. But for 265 points, for me, this is the only thing that I've included in basically every Empire army I've run. And if it was 250 points, I'd be taking 2 of them in every Empire army I'd run.
It's lucky that Axemaster and CanCon are 2400.
Are you going the double stank?
I think I have to.
Yeah.
It's either that or lean into the MSU silliness and then even then I can take 2 Hellblasters and a stank.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I love this. It's great. I am having fun seeing how far I can go with it, and I haven't really ever pushed it too far beyond its limits, except for one time. Nick?
Yeah, I mean they just don't die, except when they do.
Hang on. No. What happened, Nick?
I put my Ogre Blade Chaos Lord up against it because he had 2. So I'm like, I'm just going to deal with one of these with this guy because he split them, one on either side of the board. But yeah, it took one wound from a misfire, then eventually just got stuck and had to charge me because I was on a demonic mount. Like he couldn't go anywhere. And so I did 9 wounds to it.
9 wounds to it.
He rolls his dice. And then he's like, Ogre Blade rolls his dice again. And he's like, that's 9. I was like,
yeah,
great.
I got the 3 through. And then he's like, I got 3 through the army. He's like, okay, 3 wounds off. I'm like, no, Ogre Blade, 9.
9. Off you go.
Off I went, indeed.
There's not much in the game that can do that. And because it's a chariot, it's immune to killing blow and monstrous killing monster slayer as well. So if you don't have a Chaos Lord with an Ogre Blade,
it just doesn't die. Even
die.
A dragon just take forever. I put 6 dragon ogres into the other one.
I've actually killed a wood elf dragon with this.
Oh damn! Nice, just grinding it down.
You're not suffering from any of the negatives to hit that the wood elf dragon relies on, and he was running Monsieur's Locus. You don't get to improve your strength by weapons, which this one doesn't need to, and you just ground through it. I got a bit lucky.
You wouldn't have got your AP though, right?
You don't get the AP, but a Wood Elf Dragon doesn't get better than a 4-up armor save.
Oh, okay.
So you I mean, the steam tank I think is the best for me. The best thing in the army outside the mages, probably.
Which is good because it's also one of the coolest things in the army. So it's very satisfying that it is good. I feel like that's.
And because we're in the old world, there's more than 10 of them miraculously.
That's right. That's right. The age of myth and legend where there actually was hundreds of them.
Fuckers are driving around everywhere.
Yeah.
Just catch the next steam tank to Nuln, baby.
So I thought before we talk about what we want to see from the army, I'd look at 2 different army lists and we can have a bit of a chat about 2 options for how to play and then move on. So that the first option I've got is whoops or guns. This is when you choose the path of violence, and I think you can shift this up a bit, but basically it's 3 level 4s. I've gone for them on foot this time, but I think you can drop a BSB to put them on Pegasuses if you wanted to drop the BSB. Then 2 engineers with repeater handguns, a BSB peg, 4 units of 5 archers with scout, a unit of crossbows, 2 units of 5 crossbow detachments, 2 units of 4 horses, 3 chariots, a Hellblaster volley gun, and a steam tank. So this is just mountains of garbage, basically, all through.
Piling it up.
Yeah. I think this is kind of where you go if you want to run a relatively competitive list. I think there's probably some ways you could edge it up a little bit with pegs and things like that. But what do you think, Nick? How would you want to respond if this turned up against you on the other side of the table?
2 pillars of fire.
Yeah, that's not a good time.
Just walk the mages to the back of the board, like cast them, walk them backwards so they can't dispel it, and then just strafe the whole army with pillars of fire.
Yeah.
It's tough because there's so much crap.
Yeah.
And like the unit, other than the steam tank, the stuff that's worth the most is the mages. Like the actual unit that's worth the most is the artillery, and then it's the 2 knight units, and they're worth 100. So you're just chaffing everything up. The question is just, can you kill enough stuff, because you are going to lose 600 points with chaff in a game. Easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
So can you, with this shooting, kill enough stuff to win a game?
You're edging for small wins with this, basically. You're hoping that whatever you can kill with the 3 great cannons, the cannon on the steam tank, the Hellblaster volley gun, the double battle magic level 4s, the Ruby Ring of Ruin, that you'll get more points out of them than they'll get out of you. And then they'll end up spending the rest of the game killing 35-point little chaff.
Yeah. The problem, as I see it, is the tank notwithstanding, there's just no combat. There's absolutely no combat.
Literally
so
no combat.
An army that's going to present a bit of combat, but also have a bit of magic missiles or counter shooting, is going to be able to kill your 600-700 points with chaff in combat, and also sort of mow down a bit of that stuff in the shooting phase, and then I think you're going to fall behind. So like Warriors are obviously good army, but you've got a lot of combat superiority in a warrior list compared to this, and then they're also going to have the magic missiles.
The other side of that is I look at this with Wood Elves and just think, it's dinner time. Like you say, magic, pillars of fire bouncing through, your poison shooting clears out those war machines really fast, and you can give yourself cover as well as long range and stay out of the Hellblaster volley guns fire, and I think you just have a really good time.
Yeah. What else? Om nom.
I think what it does like is dragons. Actually, it likes to play against things like that, where they're, if you've got a chaos army that's invested in a dragon, I think this takes off everything except for the dragon, and the dragon doesn't get enough back.
Yeah.
So
I can say that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the absolute lack of combat. Stuff gets to you.
Yeah, like
it's where you're hiding the mages. Like how well can you hide those mages? Like if they can, the units are worth jack shit, but if they can get a couple of those mages, it's a lot of points compared to
your apple goes way down.
Yeah. If you can't keep the mages safe, then that's a bad time.
And also, what happens? What happens in the game where you just have 1 pillar and 1 ruby ring, and no other magic missiles?
You die. I mean, I suspect the more competitive version of this is probably illusion magic on one of the level 4s, 2 battle magic, drop the captain for 3 Pegasuses, and hope that they don't have their own cannons to shoot your mages off on turn 1.
Because also then, like, you've only got 2 units of the 2 units of 4 knights, which aren't protecting your mages.
No, your mages need to sit behind impassable terrain on turn 1, and then you need to kill their cannons with your cannons, which you can probably do with Empire, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a risk.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also don't think it's a particularly like unless you are just chomping it like if you would else or whatever. It's not going to be super fun.
No. This is not for a club match, I would say.
No.
On the fun side, my alternative that I had was what I called the list.
That's right, because demigriffs have beaks, so they make that sound too. That's good.
That's right, yeah. So level 4 with Honor Pegasus, Ruby Ring of Ruin, Law Familiar Battle Magic. So you're getting your double Fireball and your Pillar of Fire and your Arcane Urgency and all that. You got a Captain of the Empire on a Demigriff with the Silver Horn, which allows you to re-roll the Swift Stride on a unit. A big block of Empire Knights with Drilled, Stubborn, and a War Banner. These are pretty bad, but something's got to go in core. Another unit of 4 Knights, 2 units of Archers, 3 units of 4 Demigriffs, and a Steam Tank. So this is the 3 blocks of 4 Demigriffs going up the table, and then a Steam Tank and a big block of Knights. This is the list that I've played a version of this a lot, and I would say it is awful if a dragon turns up on the other side of the table. But apart from that, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I've played this a few times. The demigriffs in varying assortments and sizes, but it's good fun. I like it. It does have a steam tank which has a gun on it, and there is so it's not quite full send, but it's pretty send.
It's pretty send, yeah. What do you think, Nick? Are you looking at this like it's a treat, or do you think there's some play in it?
No, I think there's play in it. The demigriffs are intimidating. As you say, a dragon is an issue, but there's not a lot of super easy points with like magic missiles.
No,
it's like there's a lot of armor. Some armies aren't going to enjoy seeing that many wounds with 2+ saves.
Yeah.
So and it can push across pretty quick.
Yeah, Arcane Urgency can make this army move really fast. Steam Tanks, when they move twice in a turn, really fast.
Yep.
Demigriffs that, or if you really want to, the Empire Knights with Drilled, they can move 42 inches in one turn with Arcane Urgency, so you can really belt down the table with the list.
I like that this has a bit more. You can put a bit more pressure on.
Yeah.
So it probably has some worse matchups than that shooting gun line. But I think you can, in a medium matchup, dictate more of the game and be a bit more positive.
Yeah. So, this is the one I've played with a lot. I really enjoy playing this list because you actually have a lot of control over the table state because everything's really fast, basically, in the army. But, again, I think the problem is you're running a full-send, aggressive speed army that is worse than the equivalent versions of that have dragons and Wyverns and things like that. It's doing what a nomadic wireless does, but less optimized.
And that is the classic Empire issue, right? They're just not better at anything than anyone else.
Yeah,
that's not even I feel like to expand on that a little bit is they sit in a funny place of doing everything medium. And not better at at any one thing. But I think if the comparative power levels were even just slightly lower, like the great stuff in the game was just slightly less great, then Empire could be really fun because then suddenly you have all of these options that might work if you play really well. As it stands, there's all of these options that still won't work if you play really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a problem. Like you look at the Tomb King shooting armies, for example, they'll just tear this off the table. The Shapti 2 damage bows, all of the casket shenanigans, it just will cease to exist. And then at the end of the day, it'll still have to deal with a dragon that it can't actually fight. I think that's kind of the challenge. So we've given an overview of the Empire. Before we go into the future, would you suggest a new player start an Empire army if they had available models?
Yeah. Why not? But it depends. Do they have other available models? Like, do they just have the models?
Sure.
Because then you should play the game. But if you have other models, maybe you play those.
Yeah.
I think a good learning army, you've got like very, it competes in all phases, not particularly well, but it's there.
Well, you have stuff to do in all the phases, yeah.
You don't ignore the psychology side like undead, so you learn that element of it, and yeah, so I think you can learn a lot from playing with Empire, and I think that's always a good starting point for new players. New players are probably going to lose a lot of their games anyway, so you want to be participating in all the phases and playing an army that uses all the sort of generic rules of the game that can reward you if you play well, but you're not going to just win games outright just by steamrolling people with the strength of one dragon. And so you're not
playing something that's less forgiving is good for learning. You know, exactly what you said. Like, you know, you're not gonna, if you start playing something else, and you know your unit panics and runs off the board, you're not going to be like, why did that happen? You know, you'll understand the dangers that lie out in the wide old world.
I do really like that with Empire. I think because at the start of the edition I was playing Empire exclusively for quite a long time, you do have to learn a bunch of the rules quite closely to try and compete. I think that where they can be demoralizing, and I possibly wouldn't encourage them compared to someone like Brett's that can do a similar thing, is that you do sometimes sort of feel like there was nothing I could do here. You know, there's a few too many matchups where it's not that you could never win, but you really feel like you're pushing it uphill to have a go. And that's a bit sad. I also think one of the things that I really hope, well, we'll talk about in just a sec, but is like the amount of units in the army that you really should not take because they don't have a use case is a massive downside with the list. It's a deep roster, so there is enough there that you can still use. But there are so many things in this army list that just really struggle to find a purpose. And I think that's a bit lame.
And also, like, if you're playing against someone that isn't also brand new, like have not just are bad for you, but are like actively a negative impact on your, like, you know, someone that sees a block of state troops, they're like, great, 3 points. Someone that sees pistoliers, they're like, great, 3 points. Like these things that won't do anything, that are going to die, and you're not going to have any like agency about. I think that's the feel bad, and that's, you know, like you said, we'll talk about, but like infantry not really hitting anything or ever getting to swing their weapons, those sorts of things, you know. So yeah, I understand that.
They don't get to swing weapons. So I guess as a last topic here, while we finish out, we are going to get an Empire Arcane Journal next. That we know that's the next one, probably early next year. What would you each like to see to make the Empire army more fun and bring it into play? I might start with you, Nick, and then go Danny and then me. What would you like to see, Nick?
Something like Van Horstman's Speculum, which was an old item that let you swap stats with an enemy in a challenge. Like classic Empire army item. Yeah. It's always been the same. It's always been there. And it's always been that kind of thing you had to threaten that big Uber Lord, the dragon. It basically said you get their weapon skill, strength, attacks, and toughness.
Yeah.
And then they get your weapon skill, strength, attacks, and toughness, which sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
your 2 attacks on your Empire captain.
Exactly. So something like that to give them a bit of counterplay against dragons. It's still going to be not a guaranteed win because the dragon might not engage, but it gives you something that can just ward off that dragon from parts of your army, which I think would go a long way. Some better magic items.
Some better magic items.
Like, just some special rules. Any special rules.
Yeah. At the moment, the Sword of Justice, which is a really good damage 2 weapon with reroll to wound, and then an additional 5-up ward save that gives you a threat ward against flaming, and the Wizard's Familiar, and that's it. Like there's just
and 2 of those are combat character items, and your characters aren't really combat characters.
Yeah,
like the strength of a good combat weapon or save or something in an army like Warriors of Chaos is huge, because they want their characters in combat and they inherently have good stat lines. So you're going to take a Chaos Lord, and if he has a good item, it just puts him to the next level. Whereas if you have your General of the Empire, no one cares that he has reroll to wound and multi-wounds too, because he has 3 attacks and he sucks.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, some better items would be... I really want the Orc and Goblin Army book treatment, where they're... I mean, the Chaos ones are great as well, but like a couple of those Arcane Journals have just had pure gold in the Magic item range. What about you, Danny? What would you like to see?
Everything. No, the Speculum was a big shout. Unfortunately, I looked this up. Igram Van Horstman, the sorcerer responsible for that Speculum,
too early.
It wasn't born until a long time after.
No.
I know, it's devastating. I was so sad. But I think what could potentially drag, or at least lift them up a little bit, would be better detachments. I think that would be something I'd love to see. So not just your countercharge and stand and shoot, but perhaps they share spell effects, not just psychology. That could be huge. Like, suddenly you're tripling your... the prayers, or any spell effects. Like if you've got 3 units suddenly that are flying 24 with 1 wizard, just the value of all that goes up. Like you're combining your buffs. Or
that's a good shout.
Yeah, just something to make those, because the detachments are iconic. And then I don't know what it is, but something to make detachments also not so easily solved. Like you have your parent unit and you have your 2 detachments, and then the dragon charges the detachment because it has no combat res, and then it dies, and then your dragon is reformed behind you, and you're fucked. So I don't know what it is, but that's the sweeping change that I think I would enjoy the most, is state troops or big units of the Empire infantry, like you talked about, narratively working together, something to have that feel. Or even like the enemy can't follow up for some reason, so then you can shoot them with your artillery one more time before they charge into you again. Like these sorts of little, like, I don't know what it is exactly, but that sort of a change is what I'd love. And the Holy Grail item, which is the helm. Costs 20 points, gives you +1 save, and gives you a 5-up regen. And then the characters all get heaps better because they've all got the shiny helmet of fuck you.
I assume it's very common.
Yes, yeah, and you can wear 3 of them.
the very common helm of competition.
That's right. Over to you,
cheap enough that you can put it on unit champions.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, along those lines, I wonder if they're going to go something like Empire can stack static combat res for ranked units, so you can get multiple rank bonuses, multiple banner bonuses, multiple flank bonuses. That could possibly...
It won't help much without detachment changes, but would be cool.
Could give some more play though. I mean, static combat res is really powerful in the game at the moment, and if you could find ways for that would be really interesting. So the army that I really want to see, I don't think we will, but the real one I really want to see, fluff wise, is an army of faith. So I want to see an army that has a bit like the royal clans, no black powder allowed, has flagellants as core, and has something like +1 strength all around for the whole army. And so,
reliable prayers?
Well, yeah, better prayers would be great. A bigger range of prayers, some better prayers.
Just a reroll. Just a reroll.
Just put +1 leadership on the characters in that army.
+1 leadership would go a long way. Gosh, +1 leadership would really go.
Yeah, army of faith.
Or even something like the prayers affect everyone within leadership range rather than just one unit.
Yep.
And so I don't think that would be unreasonable, because you're not buffing very good units.
That's right. That's right.
For the most part. So I'd really like to see that. I think, like Nick, magic items really need to get better. I would also really like to see a basic lore of magic that gave you a more useful option for lots of the laws.
Yeah.
Because I think at the moment it really puts me off taking things like dark magic where the core spell is trash. Even elementalism. It's a real.
Wait, you mean you're saying you don't like the Dwellers Below as a signature spell as well?
Fuck the Dwellers.
They are garbage and uninformed and unhelpful.
Even a really generic couple of signature spells, like +1 to hit in combat or +1 to hit in shooting, like 2 different spells.
Yeah.
Something that you know you're gonna get this spell every time.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that, which would make a massive difference to the playability of the army. But I think what we're going to get is like a Nuln artillery army or something like that, which will make them better. But it's not what I want to see. I would. Yeah. I think I want to see.
Where can they go? Where can they go with the armies of infamy? Like what fluff-wise? What's there available to them?
Well, so there's the 3 principalities.
Yeah.
You could go Marienburg, bring the landship back, have sailors fight that war with chaos that's happening in the Chaos Arcane Journal. You could go Talabheim, have an army of beasts, the Pegasi, the Demigryphs, they all become better. You could go down to the south, and the Reichland one would be the State Troop one. Nuln, obviously, all the guns. The colleges of magic are something that happens in the nearish future. So I'm wondering if, like you're talking about signature spells, like big wish list, but what if the lore is actually not a lore? What if the lore is 10 signature spells that you can choose from?
8 signatures, yeah. Lore of Fire signature,
just
Lore
choose
of Heaven signature.
You know, because they're just starting the laws, so everyone can learn these spells, but there's only one spell because all the magic colleges are just new.
That would be really fun.
I don't know.
That would be really fun. Yeah. That'd be super cool. I mean, I think there's lots of things they could do there. There's the Cult of Ulrich that you could do. There's all the other gods too. More, Manan or
Verena, Manan.
Yeah,
so deep.
Would be really cool. I do really hope we get something that focuses on infantry, basically, because I think that if you wanted to make the competitive a Knight Crusade army. I don't think the Knights would require a huge amount of boost to bring them into play.
Yeah, but they've already got one. It's called Bretonians.
Yes, well, that's it. That's the problem, right? Yeah.
It's funny. The knightly orders of the Empire are so cool, but the Knight army has and always has been Bretonia.
Yeah. Well, I think that's our overall thoughts. Any final ideas on the Empire or how people should be thinking about it going forward? My last one would be, if you have a friend who has an Empire army, challenge them to a game where you both take bad stuff and see Empire infantry on the board. I've done this a few times this edition, and it's a really fun game. Actually, using detachments when you're not playing against good competitive stuff is quite fun and engaging. It's just you need to make sure that the enemy doesn't have an army of Swift Stride, because then it becomes useless.
I think if you want to really challenge yourself and play an army that competes in potentially all phases of the game and needs to be played really well, it's got a few tricks, a few things you can do, but it's not going to win any game easy. You're going to be up against it. If you're playing a tournament, it's going to push you mentally. So if you want that challenge, give it a go.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Danny?
You've all summarized it pretty well. I think my final thought was just thinking about what the Empire wants or needs. And I think what everyone that I've spoken to in the community is crying out for is whatever it is, an identity, any identity, anything that makes them more than just the baseline, which they are, human, 3 across the board. That's how everything's based, and the thing to measure, the yardstick to measure against. But something to make the Empire unique, I think, would be great.
Yeah.
So did you say we're expecting the Arcane Journal soon?
We are. Empire's meant to be
Next year.
So, but they've said it's going to be next year. So that we're hoping means January is often a specialist game slot. So hopefully in January we'll see Empire. That means we could possibly be seeing previews on the weekend. There's a preview coming up on Saturday. For
an Old World had top billing on the preview list of things. It was like, we have a preview coming of the Old World and these other things. So I'm hopeful. Could be news.
And there used to be a Elspeth von Draken Empire Dragon model for Forge World, so they could change that moderately to change the rider, and Empire could get a dragon, and that could be the other way that Empire comes back into the game.
Have they captured the dragon in the zoo yet?
The Imperial Dragon in the zoo, surely.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, are you banking on that for tournaments, Danny, or?
No, not at all. Empire? I mean, even if the Empire journal drops, like if it drops early Jan, like Jan 1 or the first week of Jan, I have enough stuff that I can probably put together a list to play a fun something new. But I'll still be playing Empire. I'll still be struggling my mediocre way through games of the Bad Army and enjoying it.
Whereas I'm the opposite. I've played quite a lot of Empire, and I like the cavalry list. I think it's quite fun. But the shooting Empire army, which I have played around with, to me kind of does what my Wood Elf army does, but worse and in a less enjoyable way to play, where I feel like I have less agency over the table. And so I'm a bit burnt out with the Empire for now. I hope that the Arcane Journal gives me a different way to use them.
Well, you've just been wrecking people with ogres, right?
It's the future. That's right. Flying stone horns. That's the way to go.
You watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? You just got upper.
That's exactly. All right, guys. We have been.
Yeah, I was going to say briefly. Speaking of the future, got some events coming up, Danny.
Yeah.
That's right. The nearest and dearest to my heart is Axemaster, which our lovely friend here, Father of Lies, is helping organise. But then we'll also be playing on the day. That is December 14th at Hyatt Community Centre, I think it is called.
Yeah.
In Melbourne, Australia. And so I think there's very few tickets. As of the time of recording, there was 3 tickets left. So come down, 2,400 points, CanCon practice.
We could potentially expand, So
hey, if it says sold out, email the TOs. They'll try and hook you up. Come down. It'll be a great day. I already know a few of the people going and some new people that I've coaxed along that'll be down there. Absolutely get along for that. And then also January 25, 6, 7, CanCon, the biggest event of the year. Get around
3 days.
it. 3 days.
3 days.
6 games.
Huge.
A massive fantasy event, which is going to be absolutely insane. And I think CanCon is going to be, this will be the first Old World at CanCon. It's going to be a great opportunity to get to know everyone that's really keen about this game that we all play and love. Build the community, hang out with each other, drink beers if you're into that, hang out and have cups of tea if you're into that. It's always an awesome weekend. So absolutely, if you can.
Is this the first 3-dayer for the Old Worlds internationally?
It will be, surely.
I think it will be the first 3-day event internationally for the Old World.
Some said you couldn't do it. Many said you shouldn't do it, but this is going to be...
And listen, whoever the lovely person that's put their hand up to TO for this still might not do it because there's no players pack yet. But that'll come out in the next few weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They take longer to write.
Support your
They're going to have 3 days worth of player pack.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm so excited for CanCon. I've actually been painting models. That's how excited I am to play.
I'm so excited. I've been playing games. So there we go.
If you're on the fence, if you're in Australia or New Zealand or Oceania or just want to fly here, CanCon is a mad weekend. Everyone comes down for it or comes up for it. It's multi-system. It's this just big gathering weekend. So even if you're like friends are playing different systems, it's such a great weekend. And with 3 days, 2 games a day, there's heaps of time to hang out with people, catch up, check out the convention, the stuff around the convention, like people going out for drinks, catching up, having dinner. Just, it's a massive, awesome weekend, and I'm so stoked to be playing Old World for it, and I just can't wait. So if you're on the fence,
It's gonna be phenomenal.
come to CanCon. You will you go to one and then you never stop. You just pencil it in immediately.
It's great.
The first
I'm really
CanCon
excited.
I ever went to, I met the Dwellers. So there we go. That's a little cute meet cute for you guys.
I thought you were meant to be encouraging people to come, Danny. I mean, you're going to put them off with things.
CanCon.
All right,
CanCon
Dan, wrap us
will
up.
tee you up
Get
for
us
our
out of
shitty
here.
podcast.
All right, guys. We've been the Dwellers Below. Don't fail your strength test.